of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this is a public hearing on the 2024 budget. Arlene Campbell will read the notice.
Public hearing. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Is it on, Brandon?
Sorry. He's getting it.
It's plugged in.
It's plugged
Plug
in.
in?
Yeah, it's in the back of the microphone there.
Can you hear? Brandon, can you hear? Is there an on though?
I have no doubt that you can talk loud. It is.
It is plugged in.
So I have no doubt that you
Hello?
can talk
Okay,
loud.
I guess nobody can hear me. It's fine. Public hearing notice for the Town of Clinton 2024 preliminary budget. Notice is hereby given to the preliminary budget for the Town of Clinton for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024, including general town funds, highway funds, and related capital projects, was filed on October 18, 2028 in the Town Clerk's Office, Town of Clinton, 1215 Center Road, Schultzville, New York, where it is available for inspection by any interested party during the Town Clerk's regular office hours, as well as on the town's website, townofclinton.com. The Town Board of the Town of Clinton shall hold a public hearing on said preliminary budget on Wednesday, November 1st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the Clinton Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Schultzville, New York, showing such changes, alterations, and revisions as shall have been made therein by the Town Board of the Town of Clinton. At such hearing, any person will be heard in favor of or against the preliminary budget as compiled, or for or against any item or items therein contained. The following are the year 2024 proposed salaries of each member of the Town Board, Town Supervisor, Town Clerk, Town Highway Superintendent, Town Justice, and Tax Collector. Council persons, for 4 of them, for each, 8,065. Town supervisor, 36,021. This is all annually. Town clerk, 52,658. Town highway superintendent, 69,126. Town justices, 21,270. Tax collector, 8,577. Dated October 19, 2023, your signed and posted Carol Jean Mackin, Clinton Town Clerks.
Thank you, Arlene. I want to remind everybody that this is a public hearing. We will have comment by the board because I know they want to speak, but it will be at the end. I will say, one discrepancy that you will find is in the salaries. The town clerk was published at $52,658. That is correct. In the budget, it is $60,000 because we had talked about that. But it is $52,658. That being said, I make a motion that we open the floor to public comment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The floor is open. Yeah.
Ray Oberly, Fiddler's Bridge Road, Rhinebeck, New York. I have several comments concerning the proposed 2024 budget. I'll start with what is the status of the town complex standby generator. It does not seem to be in the 2024 budget. Will it be funded with the remaining ARPA funds? the town still has. It's not going to be funded by the town. I question the town board's concern for the safety of the town residents needing to use the elevators, especially being stuck between floors, and the employees' welfare. During the two previous 2024 budget workshops, Councilman Giuliano keeps referring to a problem between the highway department and the general fund employees. I was in office when this started. 4 years ago, when new members were elected to the town board, the problem started to appear. It started when a town board member told Highway Clerk Melissa Karshmer and newly elected Highway Superintendent Todd Martin that they were not to deal with the town supervisor, Ray Oberly. That's me. There was great difficulty in the required flow of paperwork to ensure bills were paid and other personal actions. But mid-year, Councilman Giuliano, as highway liaison, came to my office and I told him of the problem. I asked him if he knew who told the highway department not to deal with the town supervisor. He said it was not he, and I asked him to undo the request. Nothing changed and the problem still exists until now. Additionally, the new majority on the town board encouraged the highway department administration to assume many responsibilities that are general fund employees' legal responsibilities. The highway department gets whatever it wants with the support of the majority of the town board, and their budget continues to grow at the expense of the general fund wages. The proposed 2024 budget is over the 2% limit, and the proposal made by Councilman Dean Michael during the general fund workshop is the highway department must be full-time workers, while the general fund workers should all be part-time workers, 20 hours per week. Since the majority of the town board supports this philosophy, the general fund employees have continued to be underpaid after the big wage reduction by town supervisor Jeffrey Burns in 2013, and also in the firing of 5 employees. The general fund employees worked full-time for their part-time wages, and it continues in the 2024 budget with their positions underfunded. This year, the highway department total workers are up to 9 highway crew workers and 1 seasonal winter full-time worker. Surrounding towns have fewer highway crew members. Milan has 3, Stamford has 5, and have approximately the same number of town road miles. My suggestion is take 4 highway workers positions out of the budget to save funds. Part-time building clerk was hired about 2 years ago and provides very limited support. My suggestion is to eliminate this position, take $5,000 to add to Arlene Campbell's wages to properly pay her, and use the rest to help fund the necessary new position in the assessor's office. Councilman Giuliano's requirement is the highway clerk and the town supervisor's secretary both be paid the same wages and work the same hours. I've worked as town supervisor for 22 years and know what responsibilities are for each position. The highway clerk is a clerk position and really only needed part-time until 4 years ago, when the new town board majority decided to add many more non-highway office related activities to the job description to make it look much more important, and so it can be full-time and paid significantly much more. Previously, it was a part-time job for 10 hours per week at $13 an hour. Now it's proposed to be full-time 32 hours per week at $25.60 per hour. The supervisor's secretary currently works to 40 hours per week at $24.50 per hour. And responsibilities include Oh, her responsibilities include many legal responsibilities, HR, retirement reporting, deals with all the employees' medical insurance issues, do other tasks as assigned by the town supervisor to negotiate the yearly medical liability, fire, and other insurances, ensure employees take their mandated training, conduct workers' compensation annual payroll audits, do risk management, and also set up the new phone system that we currently have. My recommendation is to scale back the highway clerk position to the previous clerk position and reduce the hours and pay clerk wages. The current highway superintendent, Todd Martin, is paid full-time, but in reality, he only works part-time for the 4 years he's been in office, while being full-time paid about $67,000 per year in 2023 for 40 hours per week. He is out running an equipment hauling business for 2.5 days per week for the first 2.5 years in office. The majority of the town board knows of this, and this earlier part-time extra job, but continues to pay him a full salary. He is not much in his office and not much seen on the town roads. This year, he's taken at least 6 weeks of vacation and probably more by the end of the year. I know that New York state law does not require an elected official to work at all. I repeat, you do not, if you're an elected official, you must be paid, but you can't be required to work. Okay, so that's New York state law. I didn't make that. Okay, so I know that. Okay. So he can still do his part-time work, but we as taxpayers pay $33,500 in taxes for the time he is not working part-time. In other words, he's off doing his own money making. The majority of the town board continues to pay the highway superintendent full-time for the 2024 budget when he should be paid part-time and save the taxpayers some taxes and help reduce the 2024 budget. I hope the outgoing town board majority implements these recommendations in the 2024 budget as they leave office. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray. Put a lot of thought and time into that. We appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Well, I'm going to make a comment since he brought up my name, so I won't comment on other things that I feel that he's misguided in. But I specifically said that Melissa should not be brought to 40 hours. So you telling everybody that I said that she should be 40 hours is totally incorrect. She's been paid 32 hours since last year's contract, and I said, let's keep it the same. So you're incorrect when you bring up my name saying something that I didn't do.
From now on, let's just let the public speak and then we'll have our chance. And Todd.
Past Supervisor Obley just said that I took 6 weeks vacation. I take 2 weeks a year. I'm at that highway department 24/7, 365. When I took an oath of office, I took that oath of office very seriously. I am here 24/7, 365. My phone rings nights and weekends and everything else, and I still come in as a full-time employee. Full-time employee, 40 hours a week. I come in 6:30 every morning. I'm gone by 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock. I don't take break. I don't take lunch or anything. Either I have meetings or emails or something else to do. So I do a 40-hour week. I don't know what past Supervisor Obley's talking about, but I do 40-plus hours a week. If we want a time clock, then we do a time clock, and then we can verify who does the most hours here as an elected official. But I know for a fact, in my heart and soul, that I do 40-plus hours a week here. My heart and everything is dedicated here to the Town of Clinton Highway Department. I will not do anything to jeopardize my job here. born and raised here. I love my job. That's why I'm here today.
Wait a minute, wait, don't leave. Don't leave. I've called several times.
Can you, excuse
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
First of all, we don't have
Yeah, we-
conversations
You gotta
between
come up to the
people.
mic.
You can address us, but you can't address anybody in the
You're welcome to
room.
come to the mic also, because no one at home can hear you unless you're at the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
My name is Jody Scagnelli. I live at 16 Story Lane. I have called the office many times just because I would like a stop sign put at the end of Pumpkin and Longview. Because the people come through there and they're flying. And one of us are gonna get seriously hurt. And I suggested several times, even before he came into office, could we please do something? It's dangerous, it's a blind mound. When you go over it, you can't see. And I've been here 30 years, and I don't know how many times somebody came close to taking my car out.
Yep.
And it's never been addressed. I've talked about it several times, and nobody gets back to me. And he might be there all the time and doing his job all the time, but when I call, I've left messages, nobody has returned my call.
Thank you.
I wish you would have came up and said to the board earlier on throughout the past 4 years, because I would have definitely been on board with trying to
I
help you.
just feel that
Can we
No, I
please?
just wanted to suggest that, you know, sometimes if you do have an issue or a safety issue that the board doesn't know about or whatever, because I would have taken that very seriously.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
but the supervisor lives on my road.
Yeah, I do, and I was waiting until the end, but I agree with you. I almost got taken out there the other day. I agree.
And it's just 2 signs.
Yep.
I don't think it's that, I'll pay for the damn signs. Let's put it
Sure.
that way.
So,
Because it's ridiculous.
anybody else? Lynn?
Linda Selly, Pumpkin Lane. I looked at the budget last year, and I also looked at it this year, and I'm under the impression that most of the revenue comes from the taxes. Is that correct?
About half.
Give or take?
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that I have an issue with, and I've discussed this with Mike before, our taxes are governed by your assessments. And your assessments, and this is just for public knowledge, I'm advocating to get somebody to help Teresa, okay? I understand it would be nice to groom that person and pay them 30 whatever, or 25, or whatever you'd like. But it's not a matter of that right now. Right now, the records need to be updated. If you have a database that has garbage in it, you're going to get garbage out of it. The assessments are only as good as the data that's out there. And the records, the record cards for each individual person in this town, okay, is something that needs to be updated. It's a basic information. Total square footage, 500 on your second floor, 1,000 on your first. Your total should be 15. The record says 1,000. You're being assessed against that. 2 years ago, I got assessed against something that wasn't, the square footage was wrong, blatantly wrong. That's just basic stuff. You could hire a high school kid to do that, go through the records and make sure that they're correct. Basic math, 1 and 1 is 2, okay? I'm under the impression from talking to the director of real property in Poughkeepsie that anything finished should be added to the total square footage. Anything unfinished should be deducted. That's not the case with a lot of the records. That might help your revenue just to update the records.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'd like to bring up too, and I will let you look at this. Excuse me, I don't mean to.
You're fine.
but I think you should see this. This is the house I was assessed against last year. About the only thing I have in common with that house is a tin roof. It's owned by an LLC, limited liability company, not a local resident that lives there year-round. They applied for a short-term rental. I'm sure he's renting it for a nice dollar. God bless him, he's making money, good for him. I'm not making money on it. I'm not renting my house for $5,000 a month. So I'm pleading with you to reconsider finding some money somewhere or balancing something else out
Yeah.
to help the full-time residents in this town. And the other thing that you might want to consider, if you don't do it right away, is to group all the LLCs and change the codes on them to a corporation. They're companies. They found a loophole. They found a loophole, right? So you've got a bunch of these LLCs that are out there making money. Not all of them. Some residents in town need rental income, okay? They're not classified as an LLC. They're classified as 214, multi-residential. And I'm sure you know what that is. Okay, I'm not behooving anybody from making any money. But the assessment process, comp the LLCs against each other, comp the 210 residents that are here full-time against each other, and comp something reasonable. That house, I call it the mini Kardashian weekend rental. It's got floor-to-ceiling windows, in-ground pool, a pond, 5 acres. It looks beautiful. God bless them. Not my house. Looks nothing like my house. And I brought this up last year when I was comped against it. It was being gutted. I had pictures of the dumpsters. That's all I have to say. I hope the board considers doing something for all the residents in this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fairness, I agree with you on a lot of that, just so you know.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Gannon.
Bill Gannon, Browning Road. I've been out here since I got out of the Navy in 1975. So it's been 50 years almost. I built my house in '83, but government expands, okay? But back when I built my house, people complain today, but interest rates on a home was 15, 17%. But material was lower. And back when I built my house, there was a guy named Alan Muser that did everything. All 3 jobs. Okay, so in the last 50 years, if we think about it, the highways are still the same. I mean, the roads, we didn't really expand, for repair. But there's no new roads.
Yeah.
Okay, but where I live, there's like 10 new houses. And I want to thank Teresa before she leaves that she's trying her best, even though you got to raise your assessments, to keep our Hyde Park taxes not going up too much, okay? The problem is some guy about a year ago built a modular home right down the road on a swampy area. He complained when Teresa assessed him, and now he just sold the home from $400,000 to almost $600,000, which now is going to affect all of us on that road. If you want to play the game,
Yeah.
But the thing I came tonight was to talk about you guys, the team. I'm home watching you guys on TV. And I was watching it tonight before I came here. I'm getting arguing. All these employees should be talking to the supervisor. No employees should be going public like this forum, about their job requirements, how much they want to make. You know, I just wanted to tell you, I retired almost 20 years ago from IBM. And thank God, you know, when I got laid off in the beginning in '93 and I got hired back, I took all my money, my wife became a school teacher. So thank God I got her for benefits, okay? Today, 20 years I've been retired, I have no 3.25% increase. And I'm talking, I'm doing okay, don't get me wrong, but people like me, even though you got senior citizen exemptions to low income, but it steps down from 50,000, okay? Somebody making 50K, you can't even buy a house, okay? So what happens is, you got people in this town that are retired, and when their spouses die, maybe they can get the 50% off, you know, for school taxes. But nobody here is talking about people like me and other people on my road, you know, that are retired. There's quite a few of us. How your budget's, what, 200,000-300,000 in the hole. Okay, our government's, I mean, it's crazy. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest question I have is, who has benefits here? Okay, medical benefits.
There's 4 people outside the
I
highway.
mean, besides the highway is the union.
Yeah, so
okay?
4 people.
Well,
Or
they get
no,
medical
3.
benefits and they can retire,
Yeah.
right? On top of making 60,000 a year. Okay? I know people that are working for the county, you know, head people, mechanics,
Yeah.
making 60,000. And they go to work every day, like, I mean, people tell you, like in IBM, for the last 10 years before I retired, okay, we had no raises. There were bonuses. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is, here you are, oh, I want to make 60,000, I want benefits, I want this, but you're not looking at the whole picture. And you got people in this town that are afraid to come and talk. And I'm not afraid, but I haven't been to any meetings in a long time. But I'm telling you right now, when I see the employees coming up here, I mean, nothing against Carol or anybody else, it just turns my stomach. Because you got people, not me, but other people hurting out there. And even though you get a military exemption to school, look, I got a disability from the VA, well, my taxes would be up there, you know, $8,000, $9,000. And if they assess me with this new assessment, who knows what's gonna happen? So what I'm trying to tell you is, there's something wrong when you got a public forum and everybody's competing on, you know, what they wanna make. I'm not coming here telling you, hey, I want an agriculture exemption like a lot of people here. A lot of them are fake. They ain't making, what's it, 10,000 a year, you know what I mean? But, okay, Teresa don't have the capability to go out, right, Teresa, and check everybody's property, and, okay? I know a guy right now, he's got $1 million home. He's got $250,000 almost on ag exemptions, you know, for some pigs and cows. You know what I mean? I mean, there's something wrong. And what I'm asking is, in today's environment, I mean, nothing against, nobody be getting any raise right now. I mean, the highway guys, you got 9 people working. How many people we had working 50 years ago with the same amount of roads? How do you think about it?
So, I mean, just
Yes, Dean, yeah.
to answer some of your questions here is that, you know, we added on some county roads.
No, I understand.
And we get paid from the county to do those roads.
Right, right.
So in order to do those roads, we had to get a truck, we had to get a person
I understand.
to run that truck. So that's some of that. When it comes to assessments, I mean, we as a town board really have no control over what the assessor does. We only hire the assessor and we give her a long-term contract, but we have no real influence. And when she says that your house is worth $1 today and $2 tomorrow, doesn't change what our tax rate is.
understand.
But I understand where you're being affected because when it comes to Hyde Park School District versus what your assessment is, that's where we are all being unfairly taxed because they're not at 100%. We have no control over that.
I understand that.
So it's our obligation to keep everybody at 100%, and Teresa's done a great job in doing that, even though we haven't hired somebody to help her do that. She's been keeping us at 100%. And there used to be an advantage, because keeping it at 100%, we used to get money back from the state per parcel to kind of keep us at 100%, where Hyde Park has never been at 100, as long as I've been in office, 16 years. Hyde Park, I don't think has ever been at 100%. So, we've always kept it pretty much at 100%. I think there was one year that we were a little off, but, so some of your concerns are at our control, even though I agree with you 100%.
I'm not concerned about the assessments, okay?
But,
What I'm talking about is,
and the pay
she's
raises,
doing her job, but she's doing the best she can.
I understand.
And I grew up in Hyde Park, and I'll be honest with you, Lynn Keefe and I went to the Hyde Park schools when Kel Pickering was there for the last 20 years. They've been telling Hyde Park, and I've been dealing with the state guy, I can give you his name, they've been telling them to do a reassessment.
Yeah. And
I'll be honest with
they've
you.
basically refused.
Right, so this time they're 42, but when they go down lower, they pay more, okay? Now, they might drop 2%, but we will, last 5 years. we
But that
might-
42 may be wrong.
I know, that's what I'm saying, because there's houses in Hyde Park that I know guys that own, they put garages on. Now, this goes back to Rossi days, I need to tell you, you know what I mean?
No,
I mean, they have houses in Hyde Park, people put additions on them, and they're not even on a tax roll,
sure.
because they can't go to one house, right? Teresa, they gotta do the whole thing. Okay, so what I'm talking about is, I'm not here about myself. I want you to consider the seniors out there that are getting no raises, maybe 30 years of pension.
So to answer your other question, which was the pay raises,
Yeah.
we kind of basically set everybody back to last year's rate and just did the 3.25%, which was a highway agreed union contract. So we already agreed by contract with the highway, and it would be unfair for our town employees not to at least get the same thing. So that's what everybody's pay raise was based on this year, was that 3.25% that the highway union contract has already given them.
Yeah, but who's getting 3.25% CSA Dutchess County right now, the employees?
Well, I mean, Social Security did give
Every door away.
inflation is eating inflation is eating everybody's.
Right?
So I don't think there's an answer to your question beyond
What I'm
that.
trying to say is, though, please have the employees talk to the supervisor. All their concerns and their salaries, I don't care what they make, but when I see them up there, one's competing against the other one back and
Oh,
forth,
I know. I agree.
there's something wrong. Okay? And I'll be honest with you, some people wanted to get a raise before they're even done with the election. But they might be the only person running, you know what I mean? Okay? But the bottom line is, nobody knows what's gonna happen here Tuesday. Right?
Yeah.
Could be a new supervisor and another two guys here.
Well, there's definitely going to be another two guys here, because Chris and I are definitely not going to be on the board after this year. So, I mean,
I know, but what I'm trying to say is, though, we need to find a way where you're representing, I know the town, changed the exemptions, for the seniors, low income.
Yeah.
But what about the seniors that are maybe 2,000-3,000 more than that limit, getting 2% off, and they get nothing?
we can only kind of go by the state requirements.
We are, so,
You can only go by the state what you do on your tax.
so,
Okay.
Mr. Ginn, thank you so much. Anyone else? Teresa, I know you have a lot to say. And you deserve it.
Teresa Stegner, assessor for the town of Clinton. I really don't have that much to say. People have kind of spoke for me to an extent, but clearly they've expressed the fact that a data collection is important. So good data creates good assessments. Whatever help, I was disappointed that the data collector / deputy was cut out of my budget, it appears. So I can see that people though are helping me perhaps change your minds about that. I thought I was being conscientious in that I have expressed the fact that I'm going to retire. Well, first of all, my appointment will be up on September 30th, 2025. I'll be 65 at the time. I plan on retiring. New York State has even sent out an email regarding this fact, and that if you can work towards getting a replacement for yourself, do so. So that's really where I was going. We need data collection. I would train that person to be the assessor. You don't have to hire them. You don't have to, but we do need data collection at the very least, I feel. So that's why I put that in my budget. The other things, how I assess and the values I come up with, it's more complicated than one comparable that might not be as comparable. To be honest, comparable sales weren't even used. It was the model that I used. That's what the state approved, my 100%. If I had used sales, I fell below. So, yeah, anyway. So in other words, I would have had to raise the town 5% more in order to meet the criteria for sales to assessments. So I used my model. So comparable sales really didn't even come into it. But that's a discussion for another day, I suppose. So I just want to say, it seems like some of the people that came up here expressed the need for help from my office. I think it's necessary, and I hope you reconsider and maybe put it back in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I think we're
Hey,
good.
Teresa, the only thing I want to say is, since, we got the modified budget, a few days before, or, well, a little bit before, so we haven't had a conversation since we pulled some of that stuff out, to see, we were all kind of waiting to see where it came to tax cap, so we're a little bit under. So I know a few of us have individually spoke about a discussion probably later on in this meeting when we get to talk, about readjusting some of that stuff, because it's been a long-term goal, and I think a lot of us have said about trying to get, we've had these discussions with you as a group, that we got to make changes and prepare. So just so you know, there's a good chance there's going to be a discussion on that.
Okay, good. One other point. The tax rate went from 2.11 to 1.90 to 1.67. That's due to my assessments.
Yep.
We've added $400 million
Yep.
in the last few years to assessments. And we did better against Hyde Park this past year. Hyde Park took a pretty big hit in their equalization rate. So people in the Hyde Park School District didn't do that badly, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I have a question.
You got to come up to
Yeah.
it.
My name is Margaret Shahala. I live at 24 Story Lane. I want to know what decision was made about adding health benefits for certain members of the board.
So,
Can you be more specific?
Can you turn that mic around so it's facing you? Thank you.
you mean me?
I mean you.
So the decision right now is none. I don't get any. And I will not get any.
And that's the decision?
That is the decision.
As it stands right this second. It could change. I mean, it's still open for discussion at this point.
I'm scheduled for 22 hours per week. I work more than that, but 22 hours is what they have agreed to.
And that's what's in the budget?
That's what's in the budget.
Thank you very much.
I just want to answer two questions quick. The lady on Story Lane, just for your information, there's 5 roads in the town of Clinton that do not have stop signs. 5 roads. And I've been asking the town board, I've been working with the Scenic and Historical Roads Committee. Sealback and Meadowbrook, and Walnut are just a few that do not have stop signs. We're trying to keep Clinton rural. I know that's an area over there that's a hot subject right now with Longview and stuff like that. I will look into that. I take this stuff very seriously. Bill Gannon, as far as the employees, 22 years, 23 years with the highway department. Now I jumped on the other side. Being here this long, the town of Clinton employees, and the taxpayers here have expected a certain level of service here with the highway employees during the winter time. If we cut back on the highway employees, we're gonna take the plow and sand runs from roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours to almost 4 to 5 hours, just as a ballpark figure. So if town board wants to cut employees, you're gonna lack services in the highway department, whether I'm in office or somebody else is in office, but then the roads in the wintertime, it's gonna take 4 to 5 hours to plow if you cut any employees. We have 72 miles of road right now. 16.7 miles of road is covered by the county, which is paying us $92,000 right now, and that's paying for our brand new trucks, 2 brand new trucks. So that didn't cost us taxpayers here in the town of Clinton a dime. I negotiated that with the Supervisor Oberly when he was in office, and what we did is we took over the county roads here on Center, Hollow, out to Mats, Hollow down to Quaker Lane, all the way out to the Parkway. And that basically covers our brand new trucks, 2 brand new trucks will be bonded for 5 years. It's not even costing us taxpayers any money whatsoever. And we only service those roads for what, 3, maybe 3.5, 4 months in the wintertime, and we have those trucks 12 months out of the year. Okay?
To be fair, we get $92,008 from the county, and it costs us about $95,000 to bond those trucks. So $3,000 a year.
Basically where.
But it's only 5 years, and then
We're
we
done.
have those
We
trucks.
have those trucks.
Yeah, so, and we're still getting the money.
Right.
Anyone else? All right. I've been writing a lot, so I'll start with Ray. With the generator, it isn't in the budget because it is not currently being paid for, and it is planned to be paid for with the grant. We do have the ARPA funds. I will speak to the board, they know that, or the remaining members after Tuesday, and they know that. I have asked CPL, our engineers, to give us an updated number on the budget, on the generator. So they're working on that. Jody, I agree with you about Longview and Story. I, in fact, got way too close to a truck hitting me the other day. So I would love a stop sign there. It is definitely on my list, but you know I'm supervisor. So I don't want to be seen as using my influence to tell Todd what to do about my own road.
I just told him.
But you did. I thank you. Lynn, the assessor needs help. I agree. We hopefully will talk about that tonight. At the November meeting, we are scheduled, I haven't had my meeting with Carol yet, but we are scheduled to talk about short-term rentals. And on my list is, and this is an idea I think that we all agree with, having LLCs pay more, be listed as commercial, non-hosted. Hosted ones, those are people making money on their own homes and they live there. But non-hosted are people just buying the home for money.
Is there a list of how many total rental houses are in?
So Mr. Shuhala asked if there's a list of how many we have. Initially, we were told about 90. We reached out to all of them, and a good bunch said, well, wait a minute, we just listed it to see, but they weren't actually renting it. So our municipal code enforcement inspector, recently known as the CEO, has a list of people that he sent out notices to, and they are going through them. They're going to the planning board and getting the licenses they need.
I think he said there were about 60.
Yeah.
There's also a thing which I seen,
Well, hang on, let me finish. I think you said there were about 60, half of which had applied.
Yeah, I think 37 applied so far.
just another question, or not a question, another point to that is there's, I guess, from some of the other towns and also not just within our state and some other states, there's a lot of people that are kind of going off the Airbnb in Verbo, I'm sorry, where there's a lot of like under, behind doors with that to get around. One of the conversations, I think we all had a conversation on at the board here a couple weeks back, was the potential of trying to find a way to get taxes. The county gets taxes from them. From the first day on the onset, now I'm going to be off the board, just like Dean said, we all, or I said that I felt if we're taking on, given commercial applications to people that were on, to have these Airbnbs, or even when we started the event centers, before I got on the board, that was a conversation, and we went to the ag event centers, I said it should have some sort of benefit to the residents, because that's when we bought up here, or at some point, we all felt we bought into a certain type of lifestyle, and that's changed our roads and everything else. So my philosophy has always been similar to a lot of people here. There should be some sort of benefit to the rest of the town residents if they're granted these provisions to make that. Unfortunately, one of the things that came up to me when I was learning this whole process to try to add a commercial, because we have mostly residential, there's only certain areas for commercial, and this has been a topic of mine. I think they should be paying some sort of commercial rate or get some sort of other, so the town gets benefit. Either A, which we talk about the potential of a tax, which the county gets, we can enact as a town, and we can pass something which I think should be done. I do agree with Mike a little bit on the fact that a hosted, which is someone that might just be trying to get a little extra money to help keep their houses because of the taxes and stuff like that to offset, is different than a non-hosted on there. So,
I would say, Michael, just driving Longview,
Yeah.
there's 2 houses on there.
There
I
are.
know the ones you're talking.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking it, because we went to Tennessee to our granddaughter's wedding, and we rented a house in a residential. It's wonderful. But
I want to say, everyone, please excuse John. It's hard for him to get to the mic, but thank
Can I
you.
throw something in?
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Shuhala, right?
Yes.
2 years ago, there were none.
I'm old.
2 years ago, there were we had nothing. Now
Well-
we've got 35. So it's not 60 or 70 or 80, but it's progress over where we were 2 years ago, when it was completely wide open. There was no permitting process, there was no regulating process, there was nothing. Now at least it's something. It's a start. It's not the finish, but it is a start.
It's big progress this year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
admittedly.
In a short period of time. And I can tell you from being the liaison and going to the planning board meetings, and Arlene, I think, will verify, we have at least 1 or 2 on every agenda, almost every agenda at a planning board. New people. Some of these are renewals, but some of them are new people coming in who were not on the rolls 2 or 3 years ago. So
We
it's
also,
changing.
we also, when we created the law, we created it with an attempt to stop some mass group from coming in and turning the whole town into a Airbnb. And apparently the law is not working the way we want, so we definitely need some modifications. But like anything else, you take the first step to see where we're going. So we took the first step, and now we'll have to update and modernize the code again. So it's not that it's written in stone and we'll never make a change. We definitely want to make those changes as we've now experienced what we've experienced, and so we can make that in a more educated, decision.
So I have said that we'll talk about it in November. I've talked about the tax, but I have several things I'd like to say in November, at the November regular meeting on 14th. Sorry, I have to drink. I have 2 more things. Mr. Gannon, I see your point about the wages for the general fund, but we are following what the highway did under contract. And I believe, you may feel different, but I believe that an employee should be able to live in the town of Clinton. And so while there are some that, so say like somebody is only working 12 hours, then I extrapolate what they would make if they worked 40, and they should be able to live here. So that's what I believe. I know not everybody is there yet. So
Well,
we're
Mike,
working our
I
way.
gotta say, I agree with you on that,
Yeah.
the fact that there should be a standard, and one of the things that we have done, I guess, which was tough with me when I first got elected, and I looked at the salaries on some people that, well, actually, a lot of people in the town, and from however it ended up getting there from many years ago, and Ray mentioned the previous supervisor and why, and I know why that happened. And we've made, even when Ray was on the board as supervisor, we made strides over the past 3.5, 4 years to bring salaries up. I think this is the first year where we kind of, majority of the board turned around and says, hold on, we got to slow up a little bit because people are having a tough time paying taxes. We see rapid inflation. And as much as I do think, we made great strides, there's still more to be made on getting certain salaries up. But we have to give a break. For 3 years, I pushed an unpopular path, like for, pushing longevity pay for our employees and stuff like that. They should. Why should someone new get coming and making as much as someone that hasn't, been there right away? And it's an unfair thing. In commercial business or my business, we would never see that. Government, I learned, is a funny thing when you can pay someone under minimum wage in essence, but I could never do that for my business, right? So, I feel this year was the first year that I turned around public and I says, we got to slow up a little bit on some of the changes. And I also feel as elected positions, we know what we're getting into when we run for office for a salary. When I first ran, the salary was $4,400. I knew that when I got there. I didn't take it for the money. I took it for the duty of serving our community, which I'm very proud of. Served with a lot of people on this board are continuing here with me. But it wasn't a thing to enrich myself of being in the town for that. If you're not happy with the salary as a town, there's a difference of a town employee and an elected official. Okay, so as a town employee, you take a job and you're putting that's your livelihood. As a elected official, we take it as a bonus to our other job or whatever to help our community to put back. And that's the difference where, we can talk salaries, we can talk health insurance for us elected officials. Matter of fact, the first year I was in, when COVID started, I pushed that none of us, and we didn't take, the town board did not take a pay raise that year. I turned around and said, we here have to lead by example. Dean as well. We at that point, Dean and I were on the board then, and we says, no, we didn't take a salary change as a council person, and we put it towards a couple other people got pay raises because we started that, but we says we weren't going to do that. Okay, so I just want to know where that comes through, wherever it is, and anyone has other questions, they can ask me on that for the past 4 years.
All right, so now I have two, actually. One of the things I said, obviously I meant it because I wrote it twice. Teresa, again, data collection is important to me, and I hope we restore that person tonight. The last thing I have is the version on the back table, which was used as for the public notice, showed $104,000 savings, non-surplus, so we have room to play tonight. And with the reduction of the town clerk by about 7,000, we now have 111 to play with. So
we moving on to the discussion on.
now, I have said my piece.
So the only thing that I think we need to add, and I said this in the last meeting, we're talking about a couple things, which we can talk about, is the buildings, and I've said, since I'm off this, in next month and a half, I'm no longer here. We have a lot of maintenance on these buildings that we've been overlooking for, well beyond 4 years, but 4 years since I've been on it because of budgetary issues, that we have issues with these buildings, structural, siding issues. Just on this building alone, I can walk around and figure out. Some of that money, I feel, needs to go to a fund. We need to start planning. I'm a planner in my business. I understand 2 or 5 year and a 10-year plan. We need to set up some sort of fund with a portion of that to put in right off the bat, since we have a little bit of budget to go in there. Whatever that number is, we can sit and discuss that. I'm also in favor of reinstating or coming up with, for our assessor, because that we need to be on track and have some sort of backup plan, because again, being a planner, for that, so I'm for those two things.
Jean and Catherine, Elliot?
Not for now.
So, Catherine had sent out an email to us earlier, and so she had proposed that we reinstate the assistant to the assessor and also the scanner, basically, for the clerk's office, and then the rest being allocated towards a buildings fund, to be an allocated fund.
I also sent one with a number of suggestions as well, in addition to the ones that Catherine.
So I'm just saying that,
Just for the record.
Elliot, can you please speak?
All I was saying is that I sent a response to Michael as well, mentioning the two things that Catherine did, but also additional things in terms of salaries for specific employees that I felt should be revisited from what we had decided before we knew that we had the $100,000 surplus. So,
and I think
figure
that we
can talk
already,
about that, but I just wanted
we
to
could
put it out
talk
there.
about it again, but I think we've already ferreted out that it's, and even, Mr. Gannon said, it's kind of unfair to kind of single out certain people.
Well,
We already did
I
that
don't-
during the
no.
last several years with
I don't
Nancy
see that.
Cunningham going through and doing all those things, so.
I disagree in the sense that I think there are specific employees who are entitled to more than the standard increase because the jobs call for more
Can
than
you
the standard
Okay,
increase.
so,
elaborate so
wait,
they
hang
know
on a
within-
second.
I'd be happy to.
I would love to, I definitely want to hear exactly what you're talking about, but let's start with the not so controversial, because I think Dean was
Okay.
getting to something that we probably are all going to agree to, but and then we'll move on.
All right.
Is
that's
that
fine.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you have to finish now.
I did finish.
Are you,
So my two suggestions is add back the two positions that were originally in the budget, and then cut out, and then, we basically come back and modify, adding back the assessor's assistant and the clerk's data entry scanner, or whatever the title was.
the records management.
Records management, thank
But
you.
the records management, we talked about too, I think,
Right.
I believe the original request was for 15 hours a week, and
your
then we were
request
going to go
was
down to 8.
Right,
So were we talking about the 8?
yeah.
Okay, so 8 hours a week, 52 weeks a year for the records management clerk for the town clerk's office, and then reinstating the assistant to the assessor's position in the hopes that that person can,
So what's
Sometime
that total?
Fill in.
Now, what I'm asking
about
is,
30.
does that make the
34,000,
town clerk
something like that.
the 60,000 then? Because she was,
That's right.
the town clerk was asking for records management for 15 hours, but we agreed to 8 now.
right? Oh, so you're saying use
So
that
that
money.
we could use that money to make the clerk 60. Is that still the deal?
Well,
Not yet.
All right.
See,
So the records management clerk, I see it's about 9,000,
289.
okay, and then remind me, the assessor's clerk was?
26.
26?
So that's 35,
Okay,
about
thank you.
35,000
I appreciate the help.
Yeah.
combined.
combined.
But if the records management needs to be 15, then we can discuss that as well. I mean, it's just, you had proposed the 8,
I was trying to,
because
you
we
know
had
me.
already cut it from the last time.
Always looking for the compromise. What, before we get into the salaries, I haven't forgotten, what are you thinking about? We all like the idea of a building fund, to start a building fund, or a building maintenance fund, I'll call it. What are you thinking about a figure? Like, what are we,
I think we need to look at the salaries first and then.
first and see where we
And
land?
then see where we end
Okay.
up, and then we know what's left over.
I think salaries, I
One of the
agree.
things you're going to have to do is fix these buildings.
Yes, that's true,
And by
but-
not planning
think
for
we
it
need to
means
put a
that it's
minimum
always an
20.
emergency.
We need to
25,000
invest-
right off the
We
bat.
need to invest in our employees.
We have
better
in the
than-
last 3 years.
No,
So-
not as
Absolutely.
well as we should have.
Why don't you tell us your detailed thoughts about which
Okay.
person and what you're
I
thinking?
have 3 people in mind, only 3, that's all. And one of them, well, we talked about the clerk, so that's off the table. I'm still convinced, although Michael disagrees, that the town supervisor, even if we don't give benefits, deserves more than a 3.25% increase, based on the amount of work that goes into that job.
Okay.
He originally, I think I put in for 42. I believe that was the original number, from 36 to 42, which I believe is about 20% increase without the benefits. We don't have to stay at 42, but I think it's something we should talk about.
So
That was
you
one.
want the annual salary
Just the salary, without the
to
benefits.
go from,
Right. Whether it's full-time or part-time, it's a subject for conversation as well. He can do it full-time, he doesn't have to take the benefits, he can waive the benefits as people typically do.
so you
But
want
I
to
do
go,
think he deserves more than 1.3%, or, yeah,
It
1.75%.
I put in for 41,388.
Okay.
So I just want to say, since.
Hang on, because Catherine wanted me to list the other 2. The other 2 that I'm thinking about are very, very modest and are not going to upset the budget or the surplus or anything else. I'm thinking about reverting back to the tentative budget for the deputy town clerk. Right now, she's at 19,136. She would go up, according to my reading, to 20,139. $1,000. If we can't afford to find $1,000 somewhere, we're in some serious trouble. That's the first one. And the last one, or the second one, is the assistant or the secretary to the supervisor, who was at 52,625. I'm sorry, she was at 55,121 in the tentative budget. She's now 52,625, which is a grand total of $2,500. So between those 2, putting aside the town clerk, putting aside the supervisor,
And then we get into
We're
the
looking at
arguments.
$3,000.
Yeah, but then we get into the arguments of who's valued more.
Yes.
And that's the
understand.
conversation that we're trying to avoid.
we're the town board, we have to make decisions on who's valued
Well,
more than others.
so-
Not
so-
everybody is equal, I'm sorry. Not everybody's contribution
So-
is equal to everybody
So,
else.
so Elliot, I've got to address one of Ray's things that he brought up here before, that the highway clerk, as you call it, when I rewrote that position, in order to be the clerk, it would have to go through the hiring processes that the county sets. So when we wrote it, just like the superintendent's secretary, they are listed as a secretary as per the job descriptions that were given. So it's a different position altogether. Now, Dean and Catherine on our last meeting did work out a fair, which I sat back and I abstained from that, which I thought about it after the fact, that was more fair. We had a part-time supervisor, so we have a full-time secretary to the supervisor, which our previous supervisor pushed for, because the argument was, since the supervisor's position was part-time, and we have a full-time highway superintendent for the secretary is part-time on that. The positions are appointed positions, they can go,
Except she's full-time. She's 32 hours.
Like,
That makes her full-time.
they're both
They're
full-time
both
now.
full-time positions now.
on the basis of hours, that's semantics, I get it. But the pretense, to me in business, I understand in town, 32 hours full-time, me in business, everyone to me is 40 hours. But regardless of those points. Now, to go back to Elliot's thing as far as deputy clerk, I probably would be more willing to give in for that than an elected official. Because deputy clerk is an appointed position, correct, Carol?
She's exempt and she's appointed.
She's appointed, right. So going on the pretense with appointed positions, I could probably make that argument to understand that, because that goes with whoever's elected for those higher positions, let it be the supervisor, the highway superintendent, or the town clerk. As far as the supervisor, these are positions we know, again, when I said before, we know what we're running with to do that, to, as a benefit for our society, to step in, to step up to the plate. I understand from recently some of the changes that town of Pleasant Valley, which is a bigger town that handles more commercial end, they are dropping back within their budget, if it stands, that the supervisor's going part-time and cutting out health insurance. Just to give a relative back from what is happening in our town, which we're a smaller population and we have less commercial enterprises, just as a standpoint.
So,
Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to say, like, you use one town, Pleasant Valley, as an example, and
It's just recent, that's why.
there's another town, Red Hook, is going the opposite way.
Right.
So, you know, it all depends on where you are.
But they also have a lot more commercial enterprise. Now, I will take an unpopular decision from the consensus here. And do I agree? And I did say to Mike, is it worth a couple more hours? See, the problem is when I say this, and everyone has to understand, as elected positions, it's tough to say full-time or part-time. It's salary-based, because I think even Ray mentioned in his speech, we're not required to show up. It's wrong. I don't agree not showing, you shouldn't, if you're gonna take something, you come in to show up for it. Our positions, when we say it's a set salary, it's not based on time. Okay, we may come up with a number of time to say to salary, you know, we say, okay, Todd's salary's $68,000 and that's a full-time salary. So, but technically he doesn't have to show up. Now, I do know for a fact that Todd's here after hours. I've helped after hours in the beginning on that, so there's other hours that go into it. I do think Mike shows up probably more than 22 hours. I know Ray showed up, in fairness to Ray too, showed up more. You'd be here late at night. I don't know what Ray was doing, but I'm going to assume he was doing some stuff for the town. I mean that in a good thing, right? I don't mean that to be condescending. I'm saying have lightheartedness. So I do think there's time, and that's because we do that because we care as elected officials. How do we judge the salary? I think it's maybe a little bit more in 22, that, you know, in fairness to that. I see things differently because I think I do sit and I stop and talk to Mike and I see what he's doing on that. I've sat and talked to Ray, even though we had our disagreements. I've sat and would be the one person stopping and talk to you. The question is, how do we get to those numbers and get away from the idea of full-time or part-time, because these are salary positions that are, time is not even relevant.
So I want to let Catherine speak. I just want to say the 22 hours that my salary is based on is only because it fits in the budget, for no other reason. I work a lot more than that, and it's only because it fits in the budget. So, Catherine?
I think Chris has a point. Especially for the supervisor, leaving listing the hours is sort of a exercise in futility. It should just be a straight salary. Elliot, to go back to certain people getting raises or certain positions getting raises, it creates a problem. And from my understanding of the history is that this is a problem that's been going on a long time. And you say, well, some people deserve more than others. And my question would be, do you do annual performance reviews? And I'm going to guess the answer is no. And if you could show me in annual performance reviews, and you wanted to start using that as a basis for raises, we could talk about that. But I don't think it's right to say, you know, Susie deserves more money, but Janie doesn't look like she's doing her job when we sit up here. That's not, I just think it's dangerous territory. And it creates a dynamic that we've had townspeople complain about. So maybe we need to think about a different structure rather than following the highway contract. I agree with following the highway contract because it gives us some, you know, it makes sense. Like you can justify that. While you may think it's too much, and now you will agree it's a nice raise in this economy, it makes sense.
Except what it does is create a leveling effect that doesn't necessarily.
But the longevity doesn't. The longevity.
That's just based on people being around. That's not a reflection of their performance. It's a reflection of the fact that they're not changing jobs.
I think the tough thing in government, and this is, I like the idea of the performance evaluation because I'm all about that in business. In government, that's a tough thing because it becomes, I know in government it might be considered favoritism, you know, oh, well, I'm doing more or whatever. And unfortunately in government, I've seen, from what I've seen, my 4 years as elected and several years as appointed positions, it's kind of like, it's like the performance thing is a dirty word. Here's everything salaries are published, kind of like years ago, I remember as a kid seeing our teachers' salaries published, right? You're going to get that salary no matter what. It's because of the union contracts. And to say, you know, even though I'd say, hey, you know, Mrs. So-and-so is doing a great job. She's showing up. She's doing 10 times more. And business-wise, we say, hey, that's an employee I want to keep. And she's proven to me. In the government side of it, it's kind of doesn't work that way. And it's kind of sad it doesn't.
Except that we have discretion.
It wouldn't be
We
elected.
as a board have discretion.
No,
We
I'm
don't have
not
to.
talking, no, listen, I agree with you. I agree 100% with Catherine.
We don't have to lock ourselves into the same increase for everybody. We have the discretion to not do that if we choose to take it. I mean, we could take the easy way out and say everybody gets the same. Let's go home. Or we could try to do it differently. I'm suggesting a different approach.
So we take off the 3.25% and then we go through each employee and we base it off of that.
But I'm not qualified to do that. I don't know
I'm saying
enough
this-
about.
Yeah, we could do
Let's
that.
have a conversation.
Yeah, we could do
We
that.
started 3 years ago to try to bring conformity and a justification, and for us to do something like that at this point is just to erase the last 3 years and saying,
So,
we don't want equity within the town.
so everybody is gonna have another chance to speak. So everyone will have a chance.
I do.
Equity doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is the same. Equity means that everybody has the opportunity to do better and to be rewarded for doing better or doing more. Not that they're all the same necessarily. We're not locked in at that
Well,
level.
unfortunately, government doesn't give bonuses like that. Private industry
Well,
does.
but we're not giving bonuses, we're giving
Well, you're giving a
salary.
bonus by saying one person is worth more than another.
Well, it's no more than longevity. You stick around, you get extra money.
Well, that's
That's not a-
longevity. That's an
Well,
equal
but
footing
that's-
for everyone.
But
That's
those
the
people,
same
To last.
I know it's not going to be 100%, but by and large, the longer you stick around, the more you know, the more you learn, the better you are to serve the town. Carol can speak to that. She's
Yes.
brought it up. She's
Sure.
been in that office long enough that she knows more about that probably than any other clerk in the county because of her longevity. So while it's not going to be 100%, it is a good way to reward employees for being more valuable to the town.
And longevity is not a bonus. I think that's the thing, when you have people coming in with that had salaries, and I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, that new people, when the salary would benefit, and they would almost be the same when you're saying that position is just, you're making, say, at the time, $21 an hour, and then you have someone that's coming in at making $21 an hour. That's not a bonus. You have, there is value to that time adding. It's not a bonus, but it's shown that there is, as Catherine says, there's knowledge that goes with it. There's time. There's loyalty that goes with that to the town. Because, look, anyone who works for a town, I don't care what aspect you're in it, elected or hired, you can go and make more money in the private sector. You do it. And I can say, from getting to know a lot of our employees, I'm super proud, I mean, for the amount they get paid, because I know, you know, even if I said about Teresa, you know, her knowledge and stuff like that, she comes here, she has two different positions in two different areas, and that's how she makes her living, right? And if she was in a private practice, I'm sure she'd make more. I can go, I can say Melissa, knowing what she's able to do, some people said she was overqualified, but she chooses to come in and make a certain amount of money for the betterment of the town. And I'll even say, since I'm going to bring it up there, I'll bring up Arlene. I know Arlene
I
too.
just want to say something
Oh.
because Elliot is knocking down the longevity. Longevity, if you got to remember longevity, we were here, how long have we been here? 16, 17 years? Point of the matter is, during that time when we don't have increase or 25 cents, 10 cents increase, and I could show that to you for years.
Arlene, you don't have to.
How many jobs did I have before? 3 jobs, 20 hours, meeting,
Arlene, you're
minutes,
forgetting
everything.
that 8 years ago,
Underpaid.
I was working with Ray. 8 years.
Hold on one second.
I'm
Just let
talking,
her
and that's
speak
the
and then
reason
it's
why the
yours.
longevity here is do you remember, do you know if the employee will leave? Do you know the knowledge go with it? You're gonna have to train new employees, everything just get lost in the dark in here. So,
You're preaching
longevity-
you're preaching to the choir, Arlene, because 8 years ago, and Ray will attest to this, and Carol will attest to this, we reintroduced a longevity program into the town that had been discontinued years before, right? Am I correct?
So
I'm
why
not-
are we
I'm not-
having the conversation about the longevity?
We're not talking about that. We're not. No, you're
He doesn't wanna
conflating.
take it
You're
away. What-
conflating two different
Yeah,
things.
Elliot was just saying, he doesn't feel that longevity solves the problem of salaries. He thinks some people should be made, he's not trying,
Well,
he's not
my-
knocking longevity per se.
That was
He
never the
trying to-
My
intent.
understanding is the way you're characterizing longevity
No,
is it's kind of like at the bottom list of like, let's treat more people, the newer ones, better than the older people.
Now Ray can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because you were here when this happened, and Carol as well. My recollection, when we reintroduced longevity, it was intended as a bonus, not as salary, not as a replacement for salary. It was over and beyond. Right. It had nothing to do with salary. It was different from salary. It had to do with length of service, not how much money you were making. But you're
So
confusing two
I
different
would like to bring up the performance reviews. You bring up a good point about the general fund. I'm sorry, Todd, but the highway fund is supposed to do a performance review, like by law, and they haven't for years. Long before you, they haven't. And long before me and Jeff, going all the way back. So we should get it from both sides. We haven't gotten one from the highway. We should do them on the general fund as well.
if you want to discuss salaries, you need to base
Yeah.
it on something,
even-
and you don't have anything.
But even a performance review is still going to be subjective.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it's one,
I will-
you know.
I will grant you that.
Yeah.
But you can have, you're gonna have a rubric, and you're gonna follow the rubric. It at
And we-
least gives you some sort of structure and justification.
And we can't do it for electeds. We
No,
can't,
that's not, we're not
'cause
talking about that.
No, for appointed.
That's us.
You decide.
Yeah, if we did it for
Right, that's called
electeds,
voting.
I'd get paid more than all of you, right?
Ah,
I will say though.
Well, that's what the voters are supposed to do.
If you're talking about
not us.
Molly's salary.
Not us.
I mean, I shouldn't use names. If you're talking about the deputy town clerk salary, the records management clerk is starting at the same rate, which,
Now,
No, it's 2233.
so, first of all,
but so
2233.
is she,
first of all,
2350.
oh, wait a minute, this one's different then. Look at the
yeah,
new one.
yeah, for-
Okay.
I'm going by the
so
original.
their base rates, and then
Then you add on the
the dep-
longevity.
the deputy town clerk gets longevity on top of,
3%.
Okay, all right,
so,
okay. Fine. It's not, and it didn't, the math.
But
Yeah.
in
It's
theory,
different
the
in this
starting
one.
point, so if there's a new deputy town clerk.
then the longevity
then
goes away.
That goes
Right, right,
away, and then it is the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that's where I said I can kind of get behind that position, just because
Yeah.
they're appointed positions, to give an incentive, and there's not, I mean, how many hours has Mary been working overall?
My deputy only works 16 hours a week.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have beaten a dead horse. I want to open this up to everybody again. I never closed it, so if anybody has something to say, please use the mic.
Okay, Bill Gannon again.
Yeah?
Hey, first of all, I just want to clarify. I never said 60,000 is too low, too high, okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Second of all, if you live in Hyde Park School District here, 60,000 and your house isn't paid off, I mean, you ain't gonna bring new people in here.
Yep.
Okay, so the comment that was, made about paying the salary to live here, maybe if you're in Pine Plains where my daughter lives, $200,000 homes, she only pays like $1,500 because they're subsidized, we're farming. Okay, my son lives in Pleasant Valley, he's around 220, and his school taxes, we're around 4,500, okay? But he's not married yet. Now today, with the interest rates even at 8, even though I pay 17, 60,000 with a family, I mean, you ain't gonna make it around here anywhere.
I know.
That's why the people have been moving out, I mean, the kids, for the last 25, 30 years. Okay, Tom?
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Joe?
Good evening, everybody. Joe Tompkins from West Halsted Road. I'd like to bring up a safety issue, like this young lady brought up before, the stop sign. When are we gonna put up that stop sign? After somebody gets hurt, killed, or whatever? I'm sure it'll go up the day after. Why can't we get it up now for the safety of the community and get it up?
How does that work, though, with that, is that?
Scenic Roads has to approve.
Yeah, Scenic Roads, right? So that's,
Well, why don't we get up and get it going? Because if somebody gets hurt or killed there and they fill out the accident report,
can the town board override Scenic Roads? I mean, for that? I mean,
well,
it's
on
a stop
safety
sign.
issue, I think so.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would,
Here's the liaison, and he just said, I think so.
I can't imagine why the scenic roads would object to it, if it's a safety issue.
look, I'll go on the record right now, if we can make this
I do,
go through.
doesn't the state have to be involved in the putting up stop signs?
Todd is gonna,
May I ask a favor? Can
Even
we
local
put
roads.
this on
I
the
think the state
agenda
has
for
to sign.
Tuesday?
But
And
anyway,
we'll do budget tonight? We have a lot to cover yet? And can we add that to the agenda for next Tuesday? Okay.
Okay, I
For
got
the
the
14th.
about the stop sign. If something happens between now and then, I guess you guys will have the answer.
Well, there's a
No,
certain,
that's-
Joe, I
that's
think
not-
the thing is, there's a certain procedure that goes with it.
But here you have somebody
Listen.
from the public
Listen,
announcing it, and we're just,
Well, we've had an issue with the speed limit on Saul Point that we fought with the state
That's true.
for the last 8 years to reduce the speed limit, and the state keeps on denying us.
More than 8.
And we've given them on notice too. So there's a process, even though we want to do things, there's a process.
Town board,
Todd.
I'm just gonna reiterate this, as far as stop signs in the town of Clinton. Highway school and conferences, attorney generals, comp controllers, and everybody I've talked to, it's wacky how this works. Even though this is a town of Clinton, any highway superintendent cannot put up a stop sign without going through the county and the state first, and then after that, after doing a study, engineering fees and everything else, then it goes to the town board, then it has to go out for public review and everything else. You're talking almost a year and a half, 2 years process to put up a stop sign in the town of Clinton. Believe me, we've been through this and done that. That's what I'm saying. There's 5 roads in the town of Clinton left that do not have stop signs. I would love to put up a stop sign in the town of Clinton, where you guys are talking about. But if something happens and there's an accident and it's not in
Official.
detailed or official or something like that, the first person they're gonna hang is the highway superintendent, then they're gonna come back after the board. As wacky as it sounds, believe me, if you research this, you gotta go through the county first, ask the county's permission, then you gotta go through the State Department of Transportation. After that, they come out and put those little rubber pads down and do a calendar, traffic count and everything else. It's a long, drawn-out process, believe me. But I know you guys have had some close calls there, and the first thing they're gonna ask is, go through 911 records, how many accidents were at that intersection of Story Lane and Longview? How many accidents were at the intersection of Sealback and Meadowbrook? how many accidents, and I've been through this, and I've gone through the Department of Transportation, through their traffic advisory councils and transportation council and everything else. It's a long, and I walked out. I'm like, this is silly. We're a rural town here in the town of Clinton. I cannot legally, as a highway superintendent here in the town, put up a stop sign. Legally, I can't. And if the town board talks to the town attorney, Shane, he'll tell you the same exact thing. As a highway superintendent, I do not have the authorization to throw up a stop sign. No highway superintendent does. You have to go through the proper channels, because if something happens, then they're gonna reach out to whoever put that sign up first.
So can
It's
you,
wacky as it
can
sounds,
you
but-
start tomorrow and just send me an update on those 5 places?
Okay.
Like, reach out to the county on those 5 places and let me know.
I will.
You know, an
All right.
interesting thing, this ain't budget, so we'll kind of get off of it, but Center Road and Hollow Road, right? I've been up here 20 years myself, right? There's been more accidents at that intersection. I can't tell you how many times I hear car accidents right down the road that it took years just to even get a blinking light, which isn't even the right decision, right? And we've all, you know, there's been the issues on that, and that's the state, the county getting into that, so.
All right,
Sure.
yeah.
Back to the stop sign, all right? How long has that road been there? And why haven't we moved on it?
This is the first time that I heard about it
No,
myself,
I mean,
me personally.
If we're running the highway, what if a bus runs through there? What are we gonna do? Say, oh, there wasn't a stop sign there? Let's
Listen,
get real about it.
I think
Let's
we
get it
all
done and
agree.
Get it done right.
I think-
If we need to go through paperwork, let's do it and get it over with.
I think no one's denying that, Joe.
Everybody's
Everyone's
right.
agreeing, I think everyone up here is agreeing that there should be a stop sign.
All right, so we're going to work on that. We're going to get back to you, and we'll talk about it at the budget, at the regular town board meeting, because it's not a budget item.
So we'll just brush it off. Thank
That
you.
is not what we said.
That's not what we said. It's not the place or the time.
A roundabout.
Anyone else? All right.
On the budget.
So, on the budget, so let's come to a decision on where we move from here.
All right, so I'm going to make a suggestion.
Yep.
So I've been working on numbers while we were talking.
Yep.
So we're roughly about $111,000. And to try to fix our budget and not go over the tax cap, I'm suggesting that we add the assistant to the clerk for the data collector, or, I'm sorry, Carol, whatever the.
Records
Records management, thank you.
So that's
Whatever.
9,289.
No, the full amount, so 17,417, which was the
All right.
original amount.
Yep.
All right.
417, I'm just writing down.
We add in the deputy tax collector for $26,001. I would make a suggestion that we increase the town clerk $3,500. We include the town supervisor, $3,500. That comes out to $50,418. If you take 30% for taxes and everything else that goes into that, you're roughly at $65,000 and change. That leaves about $45,000 that we can put into an account for the building maintenance. That,
How much for building? 45?
$45,000.
Yeah, could you break out the supervisor and the town clerk?
I just said $3,500 each.
Oh, each,
Bump each $3,500.
okay, 3,500 each.
So you're saying.
That comes out to the 111,000,
And then,
roughly, taking, like I said, a 30%.
No,
So
that
then
total
we
comes
use-
out 111,000, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
45 for the reserve funds?
For the building.
45 for a
Or
building
what we
fund.
can
A
do
building
is,
fund.
we can.
Building
start-
maintenance
We can start
fund.
the reserve fund at 2590 and come under the tax cap and take 21,000 off of that.
Just to paint that building alone.
Well, I know
was-
that.
so-
Listen, I'm fine.
I understand.
I'm fine with making it.
I just know that, just like we schedule our maintenance on our highway vehicles, we should schedule every other aspect of this building, whether it be, the bond is almost done, for the buildings and
Yeah.
the geothermal, but eventually the geothermal units are going to be needed to be replaced. We need to have a building maintenance schedule, and if we don't start
and we
with a
can do
healthy fund, then we'll never have it.
I'm with you. I'm fine then.
So- Okay, Dean, Dean, back up for just a minute. Let's get these numbers so we have them all together.
Sure.
So the records management would be 17,417.
Right.
Deputy assessor would be 26, all right? So for the town supervisor, the new salary would be what?
3,500 more than what's on this
30
latest one.
36,021 plus 3,500.
Right.
And for the town clerk would be 52,658
Plus 3,500.
Okay.
And then
And
45
then
for the
45,
building.
the
reserve
remainder,
fund.
45, roughly 45,000.
Yeah, I'll
Whatever the
find,
dollars are.
whatever it is, I'll do it.
I would just
Yeah.
be a dollar under, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So that we're under the tax cap.
Because I figured in roughly about 15,000 worth of workers' comp and uninsurance and FICA and everything else.
Exactly.
All right.
So,
Teresa,
Come.
please.
If you don't come up to that, nobody at home can hear you.
Exactly 2%?
No, so it was 1.947,
because we went over last year,
yeah.
so they held us back.
But you got the growth factor, that's me.
Yes, 1,947,126.
Okay.
And we're over by 104 at the beginning, but we initially, it was like 111, because
111,529,
there you go.
Says the numbers guy.
One other thing I'd like to say, which does this, first of all, does this look pretty good? I mean, this is a reasonable solution?
I'm good with it.
I try to address everybody's concerns.
I come up with 95,000 altogether, is that right?
Yeah, and.
Did you figure the workers'
None of the
comp and stuff
15,000
that he was?
Yeah, so
for the 30%.
Right, okay, got it.
So we may fudge a little the building reserve just to make it work.
Whatever,
So.
keep under the 2%.
All right, so the only thing that was a comment that, I think it was maybe Ray said it in the beginning when his thing that wasn't addressed. The highway budget over the past, and Todd, you can reaffirm this for me, has been, for the past 4 years, has been within the 2% cap, pretty close on that. And then this year.
Last year was under.
Well, and that's what I want to say. This year, through our last meeting, we came under because we removed approximately 70,000 off of that already. So, and where before we were over only, what, 2%, or we were at the 2%. So we are under this year with the,
Well, we're using a lot of fund balance. That's not,
No. I mean, we're the highway side of things,
understand.
because the thing
I
was that they were always over in spending. I'm just proving a point that we are under 70,000, or well, whatever that percentage comes out. So, and there's only the 2% for the past previous years. But yes, we're over because we're using, and how much is the total, so the public knows, how much of the fund balance are we using to fund this, to do this?
500,000.
Okay, and with that, it's five.
But I think
By the way,
you gotta say
we
the
are,
next piece.
yes.
Yeah, and that's
We
what-
are over the fund balance policy. We have more than we need, more than our policy states.
And also that monies will be put back in.
And there is money
Budget year
that is
finishes.
going to be put back in at the end of this year.
With us
So-
using the 500,000, and what is the?
So
that
we're
leaves us our
using
reserve?
really about 100,000, because it's,
Yeah, we're gonna get
we
about
don't know
400,000.
what exactly is going in.
What does that leave us on our, because are we down to 45% at that point? When we,
It's still above it.
we're still, okay, so in our.
Yeah.
So our low was 45%, correct?
No, low is 25 to 45,
And
so we're above it.
we're still over 45,000, or
For
45%.
next year.
What's that? So, as we were saying,
Because High Park School's done that, and they got,
first of all, money is going back in at the end of 2023. So it's really about 100,000 we're using, because we don't know exactly how much is going in. And that's, our policy states that it should be between 25 and 45% of expenditures. We're still above the 45%. So, exactly, I don't know.
well, at 45%, we would be 20% above.
Yeah,
So our fund balance says we have to be between 25 and 45, right?
yes,
Of our total budget.
and we're
We have to
still
set
above.
aside.
Okay, just so we all know on TV, okay?
Yeah,
Who got what raise? Okay,
Every-
3,500. okay?
everybody got three.
3,500?
Everybody got 3.25%.
Everybody got 3.25%. And then the deal
And there was
where,
two extra positions hired that were not there. One for the clerk's office, one for the assessor's office. And the town clerk got an extra 3,500 above that, and the town supervisor got 3,500 extra.
I just wanted to clarify that. 'cause-
yeah.
No, it's a lot of
And,
numbers. all
and
at
then
once.
we're adding approximately 45 to the building fund, so for future repairs. Anyone else? All right. I make a motion. There being no further comments.
Well,
I
do we
make-
all agree on?
Well, we can still talk. I make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have another comment on the budget?
So I want to know if everybody's in agreement to that, or somebody has
Oh,
some
yeah.
other idea. So
I'm in agreement.
No, absolutely not.
I'm fine with that.
I'm good, I like it.
Elliot, you have to speak up, I can't hear.
I said no, I'm not in agreement.
All of these except Elliot.
Right.
So, we don't have to. We do nothing.
We vote on Tuesday, no?
Yeah, we vote on Tuesday. So I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 We
I
did.
did.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Did you fall asleep there early or what? She woke up like.
By the way, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight.
I think they're out the door.
They are.
They're gone.